famous quotes. For every five well adjusted and smoothly functioning Americans, there are two who never had the chance to discover themselves. It may well be because they have never been alone with themselves. I was never less alone than when myself. My early childhood prepared me to be a social psychologist. I grew up in a South Bronx ghetto in a very poor family. From Sicilian origin, I was the first person in my family to complete high school, let alone go to college. It is not careless to become too local when there are 400 billion stars in our galaxy alone. There are places and moments in which one is so completely alone that one sees the world entire. Your thoughts and emotions are yours alone. Virtue is not left to stand alone. He who practices it will have neighbors. Grant that I may not pray alone with the mouth. Help me that I may pray from the depths of my heart. Demand the ballot as the undeniable right of every man who is called to the poll, and take special care that the old constitutional rule and principle by which majorities alone shall decide in parliamentary elections shall not be violated. What we have done for ourselves alone dies with us. What we have done for others and the world remains and is immortal. Music should probably provide answers in terms of lyrical content and giving people a sense of togetherness and oneness as opposed to being alone in their thoughts and dilemmas or regrets or happiness or whatever. It is better to be alone than in bad company. You too is an original species. There are colors and feelings and emotional terrain that we occupy that is ours and ours alone. It is strange to be known so universally and yet to be so lonely. I like the idea of being alone. I like the idea of often being alone in all aspects of my life. I like to feel lonely. I like to need things. Our party has known great days, but we have no God given right to survive, let alone to succeed. You are forever alone. Better be alone than in bad company. The union which can alone ensure internal peace and external security to each state must and shall be preserved, cost what it may in time, treasure, and blood. The strongest men are the most alone. It is a good idea to be alone in a garden at dawn or dark so that all its shy presences may haunt you and possess you in a reverie of suspended thought. A task becomes a duty from the moment you suspect it to be an essential part of that integrity, which alone entitles a man to assume responsibility. I don't know why I still feel this pit in my stomach whenever I get a moment to think. I know what the pit is too. I feel lonely. But I am not alone, I keep telling myself. If you talk to geneticists, they are constantly finding that your genes are being switched on and off because of the environment. Genes alone do not determine an exact path in your life. You are never so alone as when you are ill on stage. The most nightmarish feeling in the world is suddenly to feel like throwing up in front of 4,000 people. God writes the gospel not in the Bible alone, but also on trees and in the flowers and clouds and stars. Man cannot live by incompetence alone. When the traveler goes alone, he gets acquainted with himself. Remember, the burden of sorrow is doubled when it is borne alone. I do not come bearing a party label on my sleeve or a quick fix in my back pocket. I do not come with a rigid ideology in my heart or a soul that tells me to go it alone. I do not come to uproot tradition or to be imprisoned by it. You are not alone. There is more to this, I know. You can make it out, you will live to tell. For every quarrel a man and wife have before others, they have 100 one alone. Let there be no mistake. A gay man alone could never begin to replicate the inner workings of the female mind. Artists walk alone. I alone of English writers have consciously set myself to make music out of what I may call the sound of sense. Every government degenerates when trusted to the rulers of the people alone. The people themselves are its only safe depositories. The conductor must breathe life into the score. It is you and you alone who must expose it to the understanding, reveal the hidden jewel to the sun at the most flattering angles. Autobiography begins with a sense of being alone. It is an orphan form. As costs mount in lives and dollars, it is natural to second guess. But one lesson I hope we have learned is that the US cannot go it alone in a policy that leaves American troops taking all the risk and American taxpayers paying all of the costs. Scholarship was one thing, drudgery another. I very soon concluded that nothing would induce me to read, let alone make notes on hundreds and hundreds of very boring books. On stage, I make love to 25,000 people and then I go home alone. And if you couldn't be loved, the next thing was to be let alone. You only grow when you are alone. Testing oneself is best when done alone. No enterprise, small or large, public or private, can remain self governing, let alone successful, so deeply in awe to others as we are about to be. It is well to be alone, it fertilizes the creative impulse. People love pretty much the same things best. A writer looking for subjects inquiries not after what he loves best, but after what he alone loves at all. You cannot base a whole movie on just the imagery alone. It has to be the story and the characters. Earth, teach me to forget myself as melted snow forgets its life. Earth, teach me resignation as the leaves which die in the fall. Earth, teach me courage as a tree which stands all alone. Earth, teach me regeneration as the seed which rises in the spring. There is no one looking out for us, we are all alone. Anyone who writes knows that ultimately the majority of your time is spent alone in a room with a piano or a guitar, no matter what the project is. Religion is the possibility of the removal of every ground or confidence except confidence in God alone. Others indeed may talk and write and fight about liberty and make an outward pretense to it, but the free thinker alone is truly free. There is a destiny which makes us brothers, none goes his way alone. All that we send into the lives of others comes back into our own.